Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Girl Dad Show. This is the kickoff episode to end our break and come back into the new year of 2026. Happy New Year's, everyone. I'm very excited to be talking to you today as I get to recap a little bit about what I've learned in 2025 and also share with you what I've learned from interviewing in 2025, and then also share with you a little bit about what we have in store for 2026. But let's jump right into it and get to know what's going on. So 2025 has been an incredible year for me hosting this podcast. I've had an increasingly higher quality of guests, and it's been really, really fun for me for many, many reasons. But the biggest one being that I'm now getting access to some really incredible people. And what's really fun is that I think because I have so many episodes in, people trust it more. And it doesn't seem like a lack of, credibility, and people will more openly join on the show. And so I think there's something to be said about just hosting this thing for a longer amount of time. And it could also just be me. Maybe I'm a little more credible than I used to be as well too. But I will say that I'm getting a lot more yeses for people that don't know me that are very, very incredibly successful people. And so that's been a really fun change and really interesting to note. And so for all of you other people thinking about podcasting or podcasting right now, just stick with it, because something magical happens in year 5 where I think you can attract a lot more incredible people. And incredible people also have really unique insights and different perspectives. But then they also attract other highly successful people. And it just kind of compounds and creates into this little level of credibility, which is really nice. And so that's been a really wonderful change of pace for me, and also really great because it expands my mind, which is the main goal for me, is to learn from successful people and learn from people that are also navigating parenthood. And so being able to have access to a new caliber of people has been really, really fun for me. So what have I learned this year? Something that I've learned is that this last year, I have learned that people are the same. We're all trying to figure it out. And I think that there are a lot of people that can spend more time on thinking about these things and how to be a good parent when they have the financial success. And it's obvious when you think about it from the vantage point that I have interviewing these people, but you can tell that there's like this level of thought that goes into parenting, and how many times you can click in, the more time freedom you have, or the more luxury you have, or the more financial freedom you have. And I think that that's really interesting, because even though it is obvious, it's also very interesting, because I think that it kind of alludes to the fact that a lot of these things that we struggle with, can be actually solved with more money. And I know there's the adage of money doesn't make you happy, but I do think it sure does help a lot, because when you interview these people at scale like this and you start to see how they think about stuff, and you see where their limitations are, where they stop thinking, or they just say, hey, well, that's what it is, or how you have to sacrifice it, versus people that are, more comfortable financially will dig in even more, be able to have the luxury of digging more. And is that good for the kid? I'm not really sure, but I will say that it is something that is very insightful for me, and helps me know that it's something that I want to do and I want to achieve and strive for. And so it gives me more inspiration and motivation to work harder, which is really antithesis to spending more time with my kids. But it is what it is, in the sense that I'm making that justification for myself right now as well too. But I do think that it is really, really helpful to see how people think about it, right? And knowing what they do with that time and luxury of how they spend and think about it. So I hope that if you haven't been tuning in over the last year, please do so, because it's been really fun. Really, really fun year to interview a lot of new guests that are not in my network, and just growing in caliber of success. And so it's been an incredibly fun year for interviews, and I'm really excited for 2026. I have a new strategy for the Girl Dad Show and the podcast, and it's going to be hyper focused on people that I don't know. And I'm really, really trying to focus on the franchising world as well. So it'll be people that are successful in franchising. It could be franchisors, it could be vendors, it could be Z's, it could be private equity, it could be anybody in that ecosystem. But I'm really, really trying to focus in that industry, in that business model. And so it's like threefold for me. So now I'm going to learn how to be a good parent, I'm going to learn how to be a good business person, and I'm going to learn about franchising all in one show. So that's kind of my goal for 2026. And if that's interesting to you, please tune in. It's the same heartfelt journey of me trying to become a really good dad and a really good business person, but just with the added context of focusing on successful people in franchising. And as it relates to me, let's keep this tight and short and get you on your way to kick off the new year. I am realizing very, very much so that 2025 for me was a year of imbalance. I have, for lack of better words, been the bottleneck in 2025. I've built too many businesses and I am unable to keep up at the rate and the way that I was doing it with them. And I'm actually hindering them or slowing them down and or being a nuisance. And it's not okay. And it's been a tough year for me to recognize that the leadership model that I need to employ needs to change and evolve, because what I've been doing to get to this point is not going to work to get me to the next level. And so I have been really doing a lot of soul searching the last 3 months and really doing some introspective work to figure out what about me needs to change to navigate the next stage of this portfolio of companies. Because me being so heavily involved in these operations is not going to scale because there's just too many of them. And then two, the differing levels of need for each business is different. And that's also a problem because I now have businesses that are making $5 million a year and they have a staff of like 30 employees. And I have businesses where it's literally me and the other business owner. And the needs of those businesses are so varied that it's hard to context switch. And it just like drains my soul, context switching from tactical to director to a strategist, and it's just really, really hard for me, and it just is very inefficient, and it drains me both emotionally and physically, actually. And so it's something that I've had to really like think through, and this year I'm going to try my best to combat that and really level up to even out the needs of each business through different systems and processes, and then allowing myself to be a lot more advisory and more of a thought partner, and putting people in place that are playing the roles that I used to play so that these companies and businesses can scale faster and more efficiently, and really learning how to, let go, essentially. And I think the biggest thing is I need to learn to let go of not being the star player. I think I enjoy it too much, and in full transparency, I like being the guy, I like being the guy that solves the problem. I like being the guy that makes the shots. And it's something that I need to learn to unwind and learn how to delegate. And I feel like I'm a good delegator, but I need to learn how to delegate at a whole nother level and partner. I need to partner and trust and train people to do what I do and let go. So that's what I'm going to really focus on this year, is how to scale myself, because I truly do believe that 2025 was very hard economically, especially owning multiple of these businesses. Two, just from a leadership model, I'm at my limit, being able to be so hands-on. And so having to learn how to do this in a different way is going to be a really big evolution for me. And then lastly, I've just been going through a lot of, midlife stuff, really thinking through what it's like to be 45 and my health is deteriorating pretty badly. And I'm sorry, it's not that bad, but I'm really overweight and I'm very unhealthy, and I just need to focus on it because I'm working through a lot of my family health stuff. And it's making me really look at myself and seeing how healthy I am and how I can provide, more longevity for my kids when I'm older and I'm my parents' age. And just really thinking through these health things as investments and vehicles for happiness, not just for myself, but also for my kids. And it's been a really interesting year. And knowing all those things, it only further validates what I want to do in the new year of streamlining my leadership model, because I want to be able to spend, more qualitative time with my kids as well, especially at the end of this 2026 year, because this will be the last year on my 5-year sprint. I just want to be very, very prepared for it to end, because I'd rather be ready for it instead of like stop it and then have to like regroup and find myself. I want to just kind of be able to transition right into it. And I'm very excited for this year. This will be the culmination and end of a 5-year sprint. I had a vision of starting 20 businesses using my operating system to scale them out, and this will be the last year I get to do this. And I want to finish it strong, but I also don't want to sacrifice so much of other things like family time and health, because I'm watching it in real time, the impact of it, in my family. And so that's something that I really want to focus on this year. It's something I'm going to actually really lean into with my interviews as well, because I'm actually curious how other people navigate this stage in time, because they're also going through it, right? They're going through a stage where their parents are getting sick and their health isn't as easy to maintain as it used to be. And so I'm also curious to learn from that as well too. But I'm also curious to learn from you guys. So please let me know how you're navigating all of these things. But there's all in all, that's really what I'm focused on. And this coming year is really just about, interviewing people in the franchising industry, learning how to invest in myself, and learning how to change my leadership model and focusing on my health and my family time. That's really the core essence of the year. And then just on a personal anecdote, I am going to learn how to golf this year, and I'm also going to learn how to box this year. So those are the two things that I'm going to take on as additional challenges for myself, but I really want to achieve those two things. And I think it'll be really great. And then on a family side, I really want to take my daughters on a solo daughter trip. So each one of my daughters, I want to take on a trip with them. I don't know if it'll be possible because this year looks like it's going to be incredibly busy as well. But I would like to make it work and see if I can take a solo dad-daughter trip with each one of my daughters this year. But that's my goals. And I hope that they're achieved and I can navigate this and I can share with you periodically through Girl Dad Talks this year if time allows, because I do feel like we're going to be chock full of interviews this year. But that's kind of where I'm headed into 2026. And I'm super grateful for you and supporting the show and listening in and tuning in. And I'm excited to continue on my 6th year of podcasting and sharing stories and conversations from successful executives that are also parents. Thank you again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Show. Please like and subscribe and share. And if you have any advice or thoughts around my New Year's goals, I would love to hear them. I'd love to hear your goals as well too. And then as always, if you have anybody that you think would be a great fit and they're in franchising, please let me know. I would love to see if they're a good fit for the show. And thank you again for tuning in. Happy New Year, everyone. Wishing you tons of success, tons of health and wealth, and tons of happiness this year. Let's get after it. Bye, y'all.